All right, so not too long from today, tomorrow actually, we're gonna have the pay-per-view two matchup. This is the second one. I made a video on the first one, and this is the video that is coming out after the pay-per-view two event. But this is just my pregame thoughts before, and we're gonna see if I was right or not. Because I assume that they're gonna have the website up and running properly this time. I don't know if I could just pull footage from the games. I don't know, but there are going to be spoilers, and we are going to talk about it. And if not, I'm just going to put screenshots that don't necessarily spoil the game, but my commentary will spoil the game. But right now, we're just going over the pregame. Well, this is my pregame thoughts, rather. So the first matchup, I believe, I don't know the order, but I know that BJ versus Caleb is happening first. And personally, I have BJ. I wanted him to win that game during Caleb, or I actually wanted Caleb to win the game because BJ was just a dominant player, and he's taller than most other people in the 1v1 space. So just seeing like somebody so tall and with a lot of bag work, you kind of want to know in the back of your mind. It's like, okay, well, like somebody could beat him, but it's like if you put BJ versus like a Moon, like I got BJ winning that, or you put BJ versus and any person that's like under 6'3", I think that he has the upper hand because literally, the height advantage. You could shoot over your opponent and whatnot. So when someone has that sort of like capabilities, you want to know that they're able to be beaten. For instance, when Ty Glover beat Nas, it was like, oh shit, like can anybody really beat Ty Glover if Nas can't beat him? And then Uncle Scoob beat him. So I was like, okay. That's why I wanted Caleb to win. But personally, I have BJ winning this one. I think, well, I haven't seen much of Caleb. That's also why. But BJ, I just feel like he has a slightly more polished game than Caleb from what I've seen, and he's more experienced in the 1v1 space. And I also like his energy, and he'll definitely pop off at the mouth. So that'll be fun to watch. And I don't know like what kind of shit talking is gonna go. I don't know if there's gonna be people there present for him to shit talk, but I think it's gonna be entertaining nonetheless. The second game, I believe, is Isote and Rob. Personally, I have Rob winning that, but I do think it's going to be a very close game. Both of them are within the top 10 1v1ers between like most people's top 10 list. Personally, right now, I have Rob as 4. I had him over Uncle Scoob even after his loss against Uncle Scoob, but I'm comparing what both of them have done and how both of them look after pay-per-view one, and Uncle Scoob looks much more deadly. So I am putting Uncle Scoob as 3, Rob as 4. Isote I kind of have as like 7 or 8. But Isote is definitely a very, very competent 1v1 player, and it's going to be interesting seeing teammates go head-to-head, especially teammates at that level. Like, both of them are some of the top guys in the space. So it's going to be very interesting to see both of them go head to head. Personally, I have Rob winning because I think a Rob loss would look much worse than a Tay loss. Yes, they did both lose their previous pay-per-view losses, but or matches rather. But Rob's loss, that was his first loss. He was undefeated beforehand. And Isote, we've seen him lose a good number of times. All of them are tough losses though. And I think he doesn't lose any respect if he loses to Rob of all people. Just how he didn't really lose any credit when he lost to Zay. But other than that, I think that Rob is gonna win, but I do think that it's a close game. And if Isote wins, I won't necessarily be surprised, but I think that's gonna be a worse loss for Rob than it would be for Tay. All right, and now we're going to get into Moon versus Eli. Now, when they first revealed this, I was like, I don't think it's the best matchup. They dropped it during Chapter 2 of Season 2, right after they announced Cam versus Lat, and I was like, yeah, like the Cam versus Lat, that's entertaining. But like Moon versus Eli, I don't think that's going to be the most entertaining matchup. And I was like, yeah, they definitely need some fan voted matchups because I don't know, bro. They need to, give what the players want. And I think that like Moon versus Eli could have been in like any season. You know what I mean? Other than the fact that Eli, I think it was Charlotte. I think it was from Charlotte. Joined TNC after that event. I could be wrong on the location, but I'm pretty sure it was Charlotte. But anyways, I think that Moon has this one, and I think this because one, Moon is much more experienced in ones, in the space, at least in the YouTube one space, than Eli is. I think Moon's offense is very comparable to Eli's offense. But Eli doesn't really play defense. He hasn't shown me very competent defense at all. Moon does play defense. So I think that it's like they have very similar offensive capabilities, but one is playing defense, one isn't really. I don't see Moon losing this one. I think this is a win for Moon, but honestly, if Moon wins, I don't see Moon like moving up in terms of the top 10. I think he's just going to stay where he is because I don't think this would be like a very huge win for Moon. Eli, if Eli somehow wins, then yeah, definitely you got to talk about him being top 15, top 10. I'd say like I'd still would put him under Moon if he beats Moon, to be honest. So maybe like a top 12, top 15. Because Moon is in like the lower half of the top 10, in my opinion, top 7 or 8. So yeah, that's how I think that matchup is going to go. Then we have Cam versus Latin, and I was actually going to say that this one was going to go either way because, for one, Lat had a super good showing with the 85 points. Personally, I don't think many people, it'll be a very long time until we see something like that happen again, and I don't think Lat would be able to do that again. I think that he's a very skilled player, and he was able to do that during like a particular moment in time. The moment just so happens to be like when animosity was high. It was like the perfect time to go off, but I don't think that he can like do that again, to be honest. 85 points, I think that's like I talk about it with Geometry Dash, like fluking something because you have the skill to do it. I think that that's what that was, and I don't expect his 1v1 performance to be like that, where he just shoots like 6 threes in a row and get 18 points right out the gate. I don't think that's gonna happen again. I think that Cam is gonna get a decent amount of stops. I think that Lat will miss more than what people are expecting him to, but the thing that separates Lat from Cam is definitely Lat has proven that he can score at all 3 levels. I don't think Cam has that capacity. Lat also trains very, very intensely. Cam, I'm not really sure. I'm not too familiar with his training regimen. But honestly, since that first pay-per-view matchup between him and Mike Harden, my respect for Cam was kind of low because of how he handled that win. But then, like, it sort of started to increase when I saw, what he was doing after the pay-per-view. Like, kind of like Scoob. Like, he was doing he was looking really good after the first pay-per-view event. But then during one of the last episodes of pay-per-view, or not pay-per-view, chapter 2, season 2, the next chapter, he walked out on his team. And I'm like, bro, you cannot, like, what are we doing, bro? What are we doing? Like, so that's that attitude that just, like, I don't know, made me lose a little more respect for Cam, and then that's why I'm going Latin this game. I do think that it'll be a good game. I don't know if it's going to be close necessarily. I do think it's going to be a good game, but I do have Latin. I think Latin is the more skilled player. But, I mean, a Cam win isn't, entirely out of the realm of possibility. It depends how Cam, goes out there. If he goes out hot, if he starts strong like he did when I think it was like 32-5. If he's looking like that, then it'll be a lot harder for Lat to compete with that. But if he looks like he did when he played Mike Harden, I don't think it's going to go Cam's way at all. Then we have Kel versus Keon, and what baffles me is how so many people wanted to see Keon play after one performance over Burke. Like, Burke has been doing this shit. I think he deserves a pay-per-view match way more than Keon does. I think Kel versus Burke made sense. Keon literally missed a day of the next chapter. Like, he wasn't there for a day and missed like several episodes. Wasn't there for his team and whatnot because he overslept. And then they caught him at the pool, bro. Like, I can't make this shit up. But I'm not gonna lie, I did like what I saw when he did play on the last day. I think he scored like 50 or something like that during the 1v1 to 100. I think it was like 40 or 50 points. Like, very, very tough, very capable scorer, but it was just kind of like surprising how many people wanted to see him over Burke because of that one game. But anyways, with that out of the way, I think that the little bit of Kel versus Keon that we saw during Chapter 2, Season 2 was I don't think that's going to be reflective of how it's going to happen on the pay-per-view matchup. I'm very glad that Kel is, in the pay-per-view matchup. But I actually, more on the point that I was just about to explicate on. Kel was missing a lot of shots that he usually makes versus Keon. And Keon was, I think he was getting a little tired by the time he played Kel. So I think that it's going to be like a lot closer of a game. I think Keon's a better scorer, but I think Kel is a more strategic player and obviously very much more experienced. I'm glad that Kel is, that he's here on TNCO2 on the second pay-per-view event because he's coming back and he's in a position to where he has to prove himself. And I think if he beats Keon, who is a very capable scorer, I think that it puts him in more of a position to maybe play Scoob. I'm not going to lie, like, Kel versus Scoob does not make much sense right now. Like, Scoob is undeniably a better 1v1er than Kel. And I think that he would destroy Kel if they were to play right now. Kel is one of those guys like Troy Croft, like, very nice, but if you put the right person in front of them, then they're going to have a hard time, So I think that this Kel versus Keon win, if Kel wins, that it'll give him like more prep to play Scoob, but I don't think he wants to see Scoob. I know that there's beef and whatever. I know that he's not afraid of Scoob, but I don't think that Kel has the skill to really fuck with Scoob right now. Scoob is top 3 at the moment. And then the main event, we have Lance Stevenson versus Michael Beasley. Personally, along with most other people, I do have Michael Beasley winning this, but I do think it's going to be a very good game. I don't know if it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a good game because Lance Stevenson is extremely talented, extremely skilled. But, he's playing Michael Beasley, who's also extremely talented and extremely skilled. But Michael Beasley has the height advantage. That being said, Lance, I mean, it's just disgusting. Like, if you want to, like, separate him, okay, there are definitely levels to it. So Isote barely beat Bino, right, in that 1v1. And then Bino was working out with Lance Stevenson. And Lance, like, completely, it was just obvious that he's in another league. Like, he just outclassed Bino in the workout, the sparring sessions that I saw. Bino obviously got a couple of buckets, but I mean, like, just the bag work, the footwork, the decision-making, the efficiency from Lance Stevenson. It shows that there's, like, it's, like, levels to it, And just seeing how, like, much a two top 10 players struggled against Bino. So, like, Isote, I personally think Bino, that was his toughest win. And then Friga just lost against Bino. Friga is a top 10 player, and he lost against Bino. This was right after Friga smoked J-Horn, and he lost to Bino by a decent margin. And you see Lance just completely outclassing him. So there are levels to it, and I think that's why when I look at, like, the 1v1s, I think that it's going to be a lot closer than what a lot of people think. But Michael Beasley, he just moves different on the floor. I'm not going to lie, but I'm super excited, and what I'm most excited about is to see the separation of skill and talent versus what we're used to seeing in terms of, like the YouTube 1v1ers, the professional 1v1ers, and then, like, NBA players 1v1ing each other. I'm also interested to see how they're going to call it. But, yeah, I'll be back here with my thoughts after I watch the game.